Honorable members, at the suspension, we were debating a compendium of bills. I presume that we are now ready. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Marshfield City.
2 additional documents. Foreign Affairs Minister Defense passport over office over fraudulent passports.
And the chair, order the documents be brought up. Order the documents to lie on the table. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Marathon.
Yes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, good afternoon to you, to my colleagues, sides opposite, and good afternoon to those who are in the gallery. Thank you, even in this weather, we thank you for being here to watch these proceedings. And Madam Speaker, I rise on behalf of the great constituents of Marathon. And, you know, Madam Speaker, before I go into the debate, I would like to make mention that the great member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador would have spoken on, not in this House, but at a press conference where he talked about the global effect of the war, of what's going on. And you know, Madam Speaker, I would want to say to everyone just listening under the sound of my voice is that this is the time for us to be prayerful. And so I would admonish not just the prayer warriors, not just the pastors, the prophets, and the apostles, but everyone should be prayerful, particularly for our students. Some of us who are in this house, we have students who are abroad, colleges. And so while we may say that the war is not in America, you can imagine how the students feel. Somewhat emotional. They're away from their families. They don't know what to think. And so I admonish everyone to continue to pray for the students of the Bahamas who are overseas. Madam Speaker, I would like to say a happy birthday to Ms. Rena Tinker from Union Village. She is absolutely 82 years old today. She's also a PLP stalwart. And I would like to say happy birthday to her. I know she's watching these proceedings. And Madam Speaker, over the past, and I think that most honorable ministers in here would agree that we have faced so many deaths in our constituencies, so many. And you know, all of these honorable members would go to funerals 2 and 3, like a week, you know. And so it really costs you to be more prayerful and ask the Lord to help me to number my days and to keep my heart fixed on the Lord and to be ready when he calls me. And so I would like to send condolences to some families who are grieving at this time. I would like to extend condolences to the family of late Delrona Higgins. She's the mother of Apostle Henry Higgins, Ann Higgins, and Mrs. Jessie Smith, who works at the front desk of the Prime Minister's office. I send my condolences to that family. They just lost their mom. And I would also like to send my condolences to the family of the late Bishop Rudolph McKinney, who lives in my constituency. I would like to extend condolences to his daughter, Apostle Gail McKinney, and also to his son, Jarrett McKinney. Madam Speaker, I would also like to send condolences to the family of the late Gerard Jesse Emanuel, and to his mother, Deborah Emanuel, and his brother, Gavin Emanuel. And this one in particular, Madam Speaker, I saw him 2 days before he died. I went to his house, and I want to thank Dr. Rivers, Keith Rivers, who was able to come there, speak with the family, speak with him. And he had some health challenges, and I guess the Lord had it to be that he passed away 2 days later. So I'm very grateful to the support, and the family's grateful to the support that Dr. Keith Rivers would have extended. And Madam Speaker, on a more, I don't know if I should say exciting note, but on Saturday, April 4th, my team and I, we'll be giving out Easter baskets. We'll be going from each polling division. So polling division 1 to 13. And so we'll have our Easter party bus, and following that, we'll be having a grill and chill for the community on the Lou Adley Park from 4 to 8 on that same day. And so it'll be like an Easter celebration, and we're asking all residents to come out and to partake in the meals that we have, meals and sober drinks, because we're celebrating Easter, the birth and the death of our Lord Jesus Christ, and his resurrection and his rising up, right? Madam Speaker, also for the residents of Marathon, I listened to a talk show one day. I was in a car, and I heard this young lady said, you know, on the talk show, she said, oh, and she called me Lisa. She didn't use exact word. Lisa, MP for Marathon. I count 35 ripples in this road on Soldier Road North. Oh, how I am going to be late for work. That is what she said. And so I said to that, I want to say to that young lady, those ripples on Soldier Road North was needed and requested by the residents living in that area. So that'll be those from Calvin Street, Lingford Street, Yamero Drive, Spencer Court. That curve right there, so many accidents, so many fatalities. And so in meeting with the Minister for Works, the Honorable Member, Mr. Clay Sweeting, I want to thank him and his team. It took a few months, you know, to consider what is the best option. It's a mean hemisphere. You can't put speed bumps, right? That won't be right. And so his team, particularly Mr. John, I hope I called the name right. Yes, we were back and forth with it. So we put those little ripples in the road just to slow you down a bit, and it's been working. And so you'll see a lot of signage that wasn't there to help the residents to slow down. And so what we did, they took it straight towards Soldier Road South. So that's before you reach Rescue. So it kind of like stopped almost there, near Mrs. Pintard's house. I'm not sure if that's your family, but she's a very nice lady, very. Madam Speaker. And of course, Madam Speaker, so we also want the residents to know that we are still repairing their roofs. We know that, so we're still in the business of repairing their roofs. So if Mr. Bajon Hunt would hear me, I know that you're waiting. We'll be there. So be very patient, Mr. Hunt, and you have been, and I'm very grateful for that. So, Madam Speaker, also my team, I would like to thank the team that I have who goes door to door, and we've not just started it because of its election season. So from 4.5 years, and I'm not just saying it, you can ask the residents, we were going door to door, Mother's Day, Father's Day, back to school, every opportunity, Christmas distribution, and that was our opportunity we used to, you know, meet with residents, talk with them, and so I'm grateful and I'm thankful for the residents that opened their doors to us, even on now, day and night. We're thankful, we're grateful, we don't take that for granted, and of course, your concerns are being dealt with, and so I would like to thank my team, Myrtle Andrews, Trevor, Jeanette Horton, Charmaine, Tina, Mr. Calvin Brown, Mr. Brown, yes. And the whole team is like, you know, Madam Speaker, they work very hard. You can do nothing without a team. And so, you know, it's like an engine with screws. And so when one screw fall off, that ain't good for an engine, right? And so we thank God no fallen screws at this time, and we ain't looking for no fallen screws, because, you know, the PLP know just how to keep the teams together. Before we discuss this legislation, Madam Speaker, we must remember who this legislation is meant to protect. Because behind every bill debated in this House are real Bahamian lives, real families, and real futures. For example, in Marathon, there are families whose entire security rests in a single home built through decades of sacrifice, overtime work, and careful savings. Their greatest fear is uncertainty about what happens to the home when I am gone. That is why preparation matters. That is why good legislation matters. That is why responsible governance matters. And Madam Speaker, I love the Proverb 21 verse 5. And it reminds us that the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. This is not just personal wisdom. This is national wisdom. Countries that succeed plan. Countries that succeed prepare. Countries that succeed protect their people. That is what these bills represent. Preparation to protect Bahamian families. These bills represent preparation to strengthen our financial services sector. These bills represent preparation to protect our international reputation. Our international reputation with the Financial Action Task Forces, the OECD, the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, the European Union, United States regulators, and the international banking partners. Madam Speaker, responsible leadership is not reacting after problems happen. Responsible leadership is preparing before problems happen. Madam Speaker, financial services remains one of the strongest pillars of our national economy. It contributes between 12 and 15% of our gross domestic product. It supports thousands, not hundreds, thousands of direct and indirect Bahamian jobs. Those jobs include, but not limited to, roles in banking, insurance, trust management, regulators for compliance, compliance managers, relationship managers, financial analysts, accountings, bank tellers, fintech specialists, or we can go on. And it helps to maintain the Bahamas as a respected international financial center, and this is why it is important for these bills to be debated. When we debate financial legislation, we are also debating economic stability. We are debating opportunity. We are debating the earning power of Bahamian families. This debate is not about institutions. Let's get it right. This debate is about people. It is about the young graduate hoping for their first opportunity. I saying this and I get cold bumps. You know, that's the cold bumps. They say when I come over, that's the Holy Spirit, so you know I saying the right thing. I don't know why. I'm serious. You know I ain't gonna lie on the Holy Spirit, right, Marco City? It is about the compliance officer. These bills is about the compliance officer supporting a family. It is about the administrative assistant paying a mortgage. It is about the trust officer building a career. It is about the many Bahamians whose livelihoods depend on this sector. And I would give you an example. I would use Marathon again. A graduate studying business, accounting, or finance is not thinking about technical clauses, Madam Speaker, in our legislation. They are thinking about whether opportunities will exist here at home so they don't have to leave the Bahamas to build a future. So we say today to them, the Davis administration, that we are ensuring just by enacting these and debating these laws that we are safeguarding their future. There is no need for them to go overseas to secure that future. Your future is here. Madam Speaker, when this sector grows, Bahamians benefit. When this sector weakens, Bahamians feel it. That is why getting this legislation right truly matters. Madam Speaker, now I see a lot of persons call the name of this bill, and they almost get in trouble. So I will say the UIB bill. You all know exactly which bill that is, right? Madam Speaker, this bill addresses something deeply rooted in the Bahamian life. What stands out is property security. Many Bahamian families know how complicated property matters can become without proper legal clarity. Too often, confusion leads to conflict. Too often, lack of clarity leads to family disputes. Too often, elders feel uncertain about their security after giving their entire lives to building stability. This bill here provides legal clarity while protecting families' dignity. And for my listeners and the residents in Marathon, I would give you an example just so that you would understand this particular bill. A mother in Marathon may want to transfer ownership of her home to her children so there is no confusion later. But she also wants the legal protection to remain in that home peacefully for the rest of her life without fear of dispute, eviction, or uncertainty. This bill provides that peace and safety and security for her. This is not theory. This is real Bahamian life. This bill allows ownership transfer while protecting legal occupancy rights. And what does that mean? That means fewer disputes. That means more clarity. That means protecting the dignity of elders who build their homes through much sacrifice. And for many Bahamians, whether you believe it or not, their home is one of their biggest investments. Their land is their security. Their property is what they hold on to with the hope of passing it on to their children. And I know that the Bible says that a good man, good father, leaves inheritance for his children. So you can't tell me that land is no investment, because I've read that in some article, but I don't even go into that. Protecting property security means protecting family stability. Madam Speaker, the DAO bill speaks to the future of financial services and the future of the young professionals living in the Bahamas. Digital finance continues to expand globally, and serious jurisdictions are positioning themselves right now. If we do not prepare responsibly, we risk falling behind. But this is not just about technology. This is all about opportunity. We have talented young Bahamians trained in finance, trained in technology, trained in compliance, and trained in innovation. They should not feel forced to leave this country to build meaningful careers, and the Davis administration is ensuring just that. Madam Speaker, with the right legal framework, these ventures can operate with credibility and proper oversight. What ventures is this? Software development, financial regulations, blockchain compliance, digital investment companies. These means careers. These means economic diversification. That is what responsible innovation should achieve. And Madam Speaker, the Bahamas is not acting alone in this modernization effort. You know, on many occasions when we want to enact laws, and I think that most parliaments do that across the Caribbean, at least smart parliaments, instead of reinventing the wheel, we look at what our neighboring countries are doing, and we see what suits us. You don't just copy and paste, but we add in, we subtract, and we fix what works for the Bahamas. So when we look at jurisdictions similar to ours, such as Barbados, we see the same direction of responsible governance. Barbados has implemented automatic exchange of information frameworks to meet international transparency standards and protect its financial services credibility. Across the Caribbean, serious financial centers are strengthening transparency laws and moderning financial legislation. That's serious financial centers. From Barbados to Bermuda, from the Cayman to Jamaica, and certainly the Bahamas. Countries are preparing their economies for the future of finance. And what serious jurisdictions understand is this one simple thing. If you do not modernize, you will fall behind. If you do not comply, you lose credibility. If you do not prepare, you lose opportunity. So, Madam Speaker, if a Bahamian financial services company wants to maintain banking relationship with institutions in Barbados or other regulated Caribbean jurisdictions, both countries must maintain similar transparency and compliance standards, or those relationships would really become harder to sustain. And the Bahamas must always remain among the serious financial jurisdictions of this region. Madam Speaker, the automatic exchange of information bill, it speaks directly to credibility. Financial services depends on trust. Banking relationships depends on trust. International partnerships depends on trust. This is built through compliance and transparency, and this affects every Bahamian life. For example, and I like to give examples, Madam Speaker, because the layman who may not understand all that we are talking about in these bills, they get to understand how, because everybody want to know, how does that affect me? How does this relate to me? Why is this important to me? So a small marathon business owner who imports products to keep their store operating depends on smooth international banking relationships. If those relationships are weakened, payments become delayed, costs increase, inventory becomes uncertain, and employees may definitely be affected. And what this does, that affects businesses, that affects employees, that affects families. So maintaining compliances protects those everyday transactions. Madam Speaker, good governance is not simply reacting to problems. Good governance reduces how often problems occur. Preparation protects jobs. Preparation protects investment. Preparation protects opportunity. Preparation protects the future. Serious countries think ahead. And I consider the Bahamas to be a serious country who is certainly thinking ahead. And serious countries protect not only today, but tomorrow. Serious countries build systems that outlast political cycles. One day, Madam Speaker, there goes the cold chills again. None of us may be sitting in these seats. I know for the PLP government, it would be an old age for us, but I don't know what to say about the other side. But the laws we pass will remain in this country. The systems we build will remain. The decisions we make will continue to affect Bahamian lives. That is why leadership must always be exercised with humility, seriousness, now I'm serious with this, and responsibility. I close with Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. My people, and I short-circuit it because they want me to hurry up. My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. And today, we choose knowledge. And I'm asking the Bahamian people to choose knowledge. Today, we choose preparation. And I'm asking every Bahamian citizen to choose preparation. Today, we choose responsible leadership. And I'm asking every Bahamian to choose progress.
That's right.
Because leadership is not about today alone. Leadership is about what we leave behind. I know that I have an 18-year-old daughter in a little prime. P has young daughters, just like some of you. And yes, Leon have young daughters and son. And it is our responsibility, if God has given you the opportunity, Madam Speaker, to be here for such a time as this, I will hate for the Lord to come and ask me, what did you do? Right? To make things better for this country. And I want to say the Davis administration and the Honorable Member for Carmichael would have listed off the whole booklet of bills and acts that was passed in this place. And I feel good about our progress. And I ask the Bahamian people to reflect on those things. And Madam Speaker, it's for these reasons, Marathon support these bills.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Asmini? Who's supposed to be? Supposed to be? As many are in favor?
Oh, you want
Yeah.
to speak?
I could go. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Killarney.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I didn't expect to speak so quickly, but Madam Speaker, I have a very short presentation today. It's campaign trail. One can't spend their time here. Those in Kalani are awaiting me, and yes, I am. I won't lie to you, I am. But Madam Speaker, I rise today to represent the lovely people of that great constituency in the West, Kalani, to make my contribution to these financial legislation. And these days when I come to this house, I wonder if it will be the last time for the current Parliament. The Prime Minister has told the country that the election will be soon. Some say he's waxing the bell. Others say he's introducing another tongue in the bell so that those who can't hear well will be able to hear it loud and clear. All signs are there that this is the case. And the governing party has named all of its candidates and has launched its campaign. Madam Speaker, I see even at night, I'm fearful about this. This is a serious matter. At night, I see individuals campaigning in the West with light, the miners use lights attached to their heads, and they're campaigning at night, during the night. I think it's very dangerous, and I would say that It's unfair to the constituents, to the populace, for us to be campaigning at night. If you came to my house, I won't open my door, because individuals can dress in any paraphernalia, and we don't know their intention. So I would just ask them to be very, very careful. I don't think it's right, nor is it fair to the constituent. Madam Speaker, the main opposition party plans to launch its campaign this week. So I was here, so I was told. And a number of independent candidates, including myself, are on the campaign trail with regularity. It's projected, Madam Speaker, that we would have quite a number of independent candidates. I don't know them. It's only projected. Tourism, Madam Speaker, is our main sector. It is responsible for the majority of jobs and economic activity in the Bahamas. And we have the most dynamic tourism economy in this region. We have mega resorts, small and medium-sized hotels. We have a growing number of homes and residences on the market as rooms via services such as Airbnb. Our cruise sector is going through historic growth. And unfortunately, our stopover visitor numbers are not seeing the growth of many of our Caribbean neighbors. The financial services sector is the second pillar of our economy. And in recent years, Bahamians have increasingly earned posts in the sector. Through it, there are many high-paying jobs and fulfilling careers. Millions of dollars in tax revenue result for the state to use to help develop our country because of financial services. And Parliament often has to modify legislation in the sector. We are also called upon to create legislation that introduces new products. The hope is that through these new products, new businesses will emerge in our country. Both sides agree on such legislation. We want to help grow the sector and ensure that it is properly regulated. The regulation side of the sector has been difficult over the years, and we as a country have tried to be compliant with our international and domestic obligations as a reputable jurisdiction. This is the case when both parties are in office. There is political consensus on this point. Nonetheless, we have had challenges the past 2 decades. There have been numerous efforts against our industry, but by the major industrialized countries. They want more tax revenue from their citizens and businesses. They want more control over the money held by companies in jurisdictions such as the Bahamas. We have had to withstand many efforts with shifting requirements, and it has been difficult being a small country in the global financial services sector. The initiatives against our country were not fair. The argument from the developed countries is that we are a jurisdiction through which taxes and responsible financial practices can be avoided. This is not true. This is absolutely not true. Both parties, while in office, have had to deal with the threat from developed countries, including that of blacklisting. I support the bills before us, Madam Speaker. It is important for Parliament to help create new financial services products. It is important that Parliament acts as quickly as possible when deficiencies are noticed in our laws. We want the Bahamas to be as attractive as possible when investors and business people look around for a place in which they want to do business. We do not want outsiders to look at the Bahamas and argue that we are not living up to our legal responsibilities. The blacklisting periods were painful episodes that required our leaders to travel around the world to protect our economy. I know personally of this because I too, as Prime Minister, had to travel to Europe to deal with financial matters. We need to always try to stay ahead of criticism when it comes to this sector. Madam Speaker, as we discuss these financial-related bills, it is necessary for me to touch on a matter that affects the financial well-being of our country. We are going into a general election at a pivotal moment in global history. On February 28th this year, the United States and Israel launched a war against Iran. Iran responded by attacking Israel, regional American military bases, and nearby Gulf countries. It is unclear how long this war will last. What is predicted that the price of fuel per barrel will increase, and some projecting as high as $200 per barrel. We are part of this global hemisphere. The Bahamas is not in isolation, and therefore we can expect impact. I was happy to read in the paper, I think about 3 weeks ago, and the Prime Minister made a statement that the Bahamas had entered a hedge agreement, and that hedge agreement is good for a further 2 months. If that is the case, it means that our electricity bill would remain stable for about 2 months based on the hedge. However, after that, one can expect a dramatic increase, not only in fuel, but in all material items that are affected by fuel. Taxis, buses, food, cruise ports, cruise ships, aeroplane. And therefore, Bahamians should take notice and consciously prepare themselves for what may be inevitable should the war and the fuel crisis continue. The United States President has said 4 weeks or thereabouts the war would last, but no one knows how long it would last and its full after effects. An obvious consequence of the war is that the prices, global prices, energy prices will rise dramatically. Gas prices around the world. And I had made a suggestion the other day that maybe individuals would have to start working again in order to cut back on bus fares, taxi fares, fuel, etc., start working again from their homes online. And it was said to me that, but that would also incur extra costs in electricity with respect to air conditioning. And my response was that during the pandemic, many people worked from home. They did their online work from home, be it banks or whatever. And yet, when you reviewed their electricity bills, it did not increase. And I can only assume that the same would occur again. Gas prices are rising here. The increase in energy costs will be felt at more than just the pump. Energy costs, we must remember, go into the cost of all goods and services. The war is likely to have a broader inflationary effect on the cost of living. And if I, as a guessing man, if I were the Prime Minister, you have a hedge that's in place for 2 months, 2 more months. You will have no cost increase in the electricity that's protected by the hedge. And you know that after that, what does the Bahamians say? What they say, go out, have your lunch or something? It goes up. And therefore, it would be wise to call election before that. So that statement was made 3 weeks ago. It meant that election would be within the next 6 weeks. So as to maximize the hedge and minimize the inflationary experience that has already left the stable but has not yet arrived on our shores. Oh, it reaching. The government has acknowledged the concern, but I have not heard any policy plan to help Bahamians during these times. Oil has already gone above $100 per barrel. What if it goes to 150 or more, 200 or $220 per barrel? Iran has said it is trying to pressure the price to get as high as $200 per barrel. What is the Prime Minister's plan to address the cost of living during this period? Madam Speaker, during my time in office, we faced 3 disasters. 3. Major. Irma, Dorian, and the pandemic. And Ragged Island was completely decimated and destroyed. We started a solar program hoping that that would be the model and spread to all different sectors of society. When you think about it, and Michael is an engineer, he understands this. Madam Speaker, one home is located in a particular area. The next home is located 3 or 4 miles away. You can imagine running electrical lines from that one home to the other. The cost, you would never, ever retrieve that cost. and therefore it's essential to look at other source of electricity. So we introduced the program where Ragged Island was solarized, very successful, and the government cut the ribbon as if they had done it. No, they only cut the ribbon, but nothing else. It had not, the solar plant had not been cut on yet at that time, because at that time they were waiting for a transformer, which arrived afterward and subsequently. But Madam Speaker, I say that to say that that was a model, and it's working. Imagine if we had proceeded sooner and developed quite a number of ragged islands. We would have been able by now to cut back on the transportation of fuel to those various family islands, and subsequently would have had the cost of living in those areas by far less than what we see today. And yes, if you solarize, as we did in Ragged Island as the model, it requires maintenance. Governments are not good at maintenance. We build and then subsequently disappear. So these plants require maintenance. Then, as another phase to that, we were introducing housing programs, and subdivisions each were to be solarized. We recognized and had discussions with the engineers, and one of the challenges were, with solarization, in weather as we see today, unless you have storage facility, your electricity supply subsequently drops. And that was a challenge. And the member for South and Central, Andres, he works in the Office of the Prime Minister. You can check the records. We had already reviewed putting in place in each subdivision, starting first with Prospect Ridge, a solarization, a storage battery facility, solar storage battery facility. The cost at that time for that facility was about $10 million. And I'm certain the cost would have dropped. But the plan, Madam Speaker, was to contact some of the major countries and purchase solar panels in bulk, so the government can negotiate the bulk purchase and then pass that on to the consumers. Each house within the subdivision would be solarized. Then the storage battery facility on that compound would store all the excess energy. The cost was $10 million at that time. I'm sure it's less now. And the energy within the battery facility would be transported to BPL. So you had to upgrade the transmission line so that this could go on the grid. Now, because the individuals would have had panels, it meant that their electricity cost would not exist, be zero. BPL would be purchasing the energy from the solar storage facility, and the requirement was BPL, because they would be selling that energy to the general public, each member of that subdivision would have gotten a monthly remuneration of $30 to $50. And that was already structured. So you can imagine, Madam Speaker, every home solarized, panels, a solar storage facility at every subdivision. The cost at that time, as I said, was $10 million. That excess energy goes to BPL. BPL sells that energy to the public, and BPL pays you $30 to $50 per month for utilizing your facility. That is what you call That is what you call, that would have been a sort of preparation. And if we had continued along that line, then we would not have had the great impact with what we're seeing today. But, Madam Speaker, as election is near, I saw a project that's being done by Small Business Developing Center. I want to remind the Bahamian populace that each and every one of us pay taxes. Irrespective to how we vote, we're still entitled to the benefits that the country offers. I've always said to my kids, I've always said to them, they have a responsibility to vote. And they must judge the individuals based on what they do. And I could be your father, and I could be the Prime Minister. But if you see what I'm doing is wrong, and I'm going rogue, you has a responsibility in a democratic society to vote against me, regardless of me being your parent. Because when you don't, individuals will assume that what they're doing is right. And that is what breeds dictatorship. And that is why I am a staunch believer of democracy. But in a democratic society, everyone must be treated equally and with respect. Madam Speaker, this is a project, the In Power Project. I want you to remember that we had started the inner city program to spread among all of the underprivileged areas. Now, Madam Speaker, with this program, micro grants of up to $5,000 would be given to individuals. Now, let's look at which areas. Bain and Grantstown, PLP. Centerville, PLP. Angliston, PLP. Fox Hill, PLP. Freetown, PLP. Marathon, PLP. Nassau Village, I'm only reading. Nassau Village, PLP. The only one that's in there, just listen, because you're taking up my time and I need at least 6 more minutes. The only one that's not PLP that was pushed in there is St. Barnabas. But if we're looking at, no, be being fair. If we are looking at underprivileged areas, no, not yet. Let me just finish this.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Marathon.
Madam Speaker, while I had a good member for Galani is pointing out the areas, right? This, the urban renewal is in partnership with the small business development. And it's, you're saying those areas that we decided to, be quiet. We decided, they decided, right, that they wanted to target some of the areas that are inner city areas. And so while you may say, oh, Marathon is not inner city, we do have 4 areas particularly, that are inner cities, right? Vulnerables, need help. But it doesn't mean that it stops there. This project will continue in other areas. And so you should know about trying to provide opportunities for the inner city. You talk about that, right? And you talk about how good your program was, right? And we never say F&M. We say Bahamians. Bahamians. That's what that about.
Speaker, I admired the young member from Marathon. And the member said, it's not FNM, it's Bahamians. I totally agree. So what happened to Gambia?
The program will be
Gambia is an underprivileged area in Kalani.
It'll be expanded.
Gambia, when we spoke about the inner city program, Gambia has always been mentioned to be added. So when you talk about, you said there are some areas within Marathon that are underprivileged. So is the same, but Gambia should have been on here. So you don't know about Gambia, you only know about Marathon then. What the hell but the other poor areas around the Bahamas?
The other areas that are not considered.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Marathon.
Good, Madam Speaker. The good member of Kalani knows better than that, right? I know about Gambia. What I'm saying is, he is saying that when he did the overhaul for the inner city, he included Gambia. If he didn't include Gambia, one of his head wasn't right? That was your area, but Marathon there, right? So what I'm saying is, we're going to expand this. So for the Bahamians listening, don't listen to Kalani at this time, right? Listen to me while they're on my feet. They can't hear me and you at the same time. I would want you to know that the program will be extended after this pilot project is completed.
Then after all the 5,000, everybody...
No, soon. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honourable member.
Thank you very much. I'm only reading, Madam Speaker. I'm only reading. And the whole Bahamas, everyone in Nassau, except the member for Marathon, knows about Gambia, right? And she said, if I didn't know about Gambia, my head bad. So she don't know about Gambia, her head is bad. Madam Speaker, another thing that bothers me, Central and South Elutra is doing a wonderful job with infrastructure in the country. But again, what happened to Kalani? I'm hearing about road infrastructure in Tall Pine, what's your area? Golden Isles, Angliston. And I've been asking repeatedly, but Bahamia West, repeatedly, but South Ocean, repeatedly.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Central and South East.
I know the member for Kalani goosed me today.
Okay, went like.
But we've been doing some paving in Kalani, and we spoke earlier this morning. He raised his concern, and I'm happy to inform Kalani that the civils team at Ministerial Works has put that area on the agenda to be paved within the next few weeks. You want a specific?
You wanna say something?
No, but the area that we spoke about this morning. Before that time. So it's on the agenda. So Baja Mix or one of the private contractors will be there. We don't have a specific date, but I will get that to you by tomorrow. You'll have the date by tomorrow.
Thank you very much. South Lutra. I trust you and I believe you. If you said, I'll get it tomorrow.
He's a good man.
That means that tomorrow, well, this evening, I can line up my TikTok team in preparation. in preparation for the announcement, us walking through Bahamia West, who will be paved. So my TikTok team, you've heard it. Get everything ready. Oh my God, this is going to be a good one, a great one. Madam Speaker, Kalani support these bills.
Thank you, honourable member. As many, the chair recognizes the honourable member for Golden Isles.
Newest member.
Hey, me. Wasn't me. I need one that Angliston, students from Angliston made. That is more sturdy. Madam Speaker, honorable members, colleagues, and to the good people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Madam Speaker, before I jump into the substance of these important bills, I wish to begin where it matters the most, and that is with the good people I have the honor and privilege to serve. To the constituents of Golden Isles, I say thank you. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for your confidence. And thank you for allowing me the opportunity to stand in this honorable house as your voice.
Thank you for choosing progress.
You are the reason I rise today. You are the reason I speak. And you are the reason that I remain committed every single day to ensuring that your concerns are heard, your interests are protected, and your future is strengthened. Golden Isles is a community of hardworking families, aspiring young people, small businesses owners, and proud Bahamians who believe in progress and who expect representation that deliver results. Madam Speaker, I do not take this lightly. This responsibility is serious business. It is in this spirit, Madam Speaker, the spirit of service and accountability, that I rise today to support this suite of financial services legislation. But before I turn to the substance of the debate, I must address an issue of immediate concern that has been brought to my attention by many residents over the past several days, namely the matter of coal burning in the Golden Isles area and the smoke that has been affecting the community. Madam Speaker, let me be absolutely clear. We are aware, and we are taking action. I have already engaged directly with the minister responsible for the environment, and the matter is currently under active investigation. To the residents of Golden Isles, I want to assure you that your voices have been heard. The smoke and the odor associated with this activity is not only disruptive, they present a potential health risk, particularly to our children, our elders, and those with respiratory conditions. This type of activity is unlawful, and it will not be tolerated by this government. And to those who are responsible, I say this plainly: cease and desist, and do it immediately. What you are doing is illegal. It is harmful, and it shows a complete disregard for the well-being of your neighbors and your community. We will identify those responsible, and when we do, the full extent of the law will be applied. Golden Isles deserves clean air. Golden Isles deserves safe environment, and Golden Isles deserves respect. Madam Speaker, I will continue working closely with the relevant authorities to ensure that this matter is resolved swiftly and decisively. Madam Speaker, before I proceed, I ask for a brief moment to acknowledge and honor several residents of Golden Isles who have recently passed. I recognize Mrs. Agnes Smith, Emery Phillips, Zelame Ambrista, Mrs. Veronica Teresa Burrows, all residents of Golden Isles, Gladys de Vilma, the son of Bobo de Vilma, and his sister, his oldest sister, and Evangelist Olive Colley, my family from Acklands. These individuals were a part of the fabric of our community. Their contributions, their presence, and their impact will not be forgotten. So on behalf of the people of Golden Isles, I extend heartfelt condolences to their families and loved ones. May their souls rest in peace and rise in glory, and may the memories continue to be a blessing to all of us. Madam Speaker, in speaking to my constituents in Golden Isles, one of the central issues of concern is the cost of living. To the people of Golden Isles, I know that the rising cost of living is not an abstract issue, because it isn't. It is something you feel every single day at the grocery store, in your light bills, which are coming down, and at the gas pump. But I want you to know that this administration, under the leadership of Philip Edward Brave Davis, has taken decisive and unprecedented action to ease that burden. We have delivered the most significant cost of living interventions in Bahamian history. I said, we have delivered the most significant cost of living intervention in Bahamian history. Reducing that from 12 to 10%, then to 5%, and now to 0% on all uncooked food items in grocery stores, effective April 1st. Eliminated custom duties on dozens of food categories, including vegetables, beans, soy, milk, peppers, lettuce, cucumbers, carrots, cabbage, and you name it. And effectively, we have the 45% duty on butane gas has been completely removed, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, price control implemented on 38 essential items and household items with the 15%, Madam Speaker, maximum wholesale markup cap with additional price inspectors hired to ensure the savings are recognized and reach consumers. Madam Speaker, this government has increased minimum wage by 24% from 2010 to $2,060 per week, the most significant increase in a decade, putting an extra $50 per week in workers' pockets to help absorb prices. Madam Speaker, this is action. This is progress. Madam Speaker, 62% of ordinary Bahamians now have electricity bills below $125 as a result of our $1 billion new energy era investment, reducing household running costs across the board, Madam Speaker. This is what progress looks like, Madam Speaker. Let us continue to choose this progress and keep our country moving forward. Madam Speaker, it is always interesting to listen to the commentary from the opposition as though history did not happen and as though Bahamian people have forgotten. But the truth is simple, and it must be stated, Madam Speaker. When the Free National Movement had the opportunity to act, they did not. Instead, they raised VAT from 7.5% to 12%, placing an even heavier burden on Bahamian families. And we're on track, Madam Speaker, in fact, to increase it further before the people spoke at the polls. Not once did they move to reduce taxes to ease the cost of living pressure facing our people. Not once. Madam Speaker, and in 5 years of governance, they did not raise the minimum wage a single time, leaving Bahamian workers more vulnerable and less equipped to withstand global economic shocks. Madam Speaker, that is their record. I said that is their record, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, so when we hear the Monday morning quarterbacking and the commentary in this honorable chambers, we must take it for what it is: political convenience, not principled leadership. Because leadership is not about criticism after the fact. Leadership is about action when it matters most. Leadership is about action when it matters most. And that's why this government, Madam Speaker, is to be applauded, because it is acting when it matters the most. Madam Speaker, this administration has chosen to act. Now, with that said, Madam Speaker, I turn to the substance of today's debate. The Usufruct Interest Bill, Decentralized Autonomous Organizations Bill, and the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Amendment Bill. Madam Speaker, these are not ordinary pieces of legislation. They represent a clear statement about who we are as a country, and more importantly, who we intend to become. I rise in this honorable House today to support this suite of financial services bills. Madam Speaker, these bills before us, Madam Speaker, they represent a clear and deliberate step forward in strengthening our financial services sector. At their core, these reforms are about three things: opportunity, compliance, and competitiveness. First, opportunity. Madam Speaker, this suite of legislation expands the range of financial products and services that the Bahamas can offer to the world. For years, our financial services industry has had to evolve in response to global pressures by adapting and diversifying. And as a result, we have broadened our client base, and we have deepened the expertise of Bahamian professionals across law, banking, finance, and wealth management. And now, these bills will build on that progress, Madam Speaker. The Usufruct Interest Bill, for example, introduces a concept long used in other jurisdictions, particularly in Europe and Latin America. In simple terms, it allows a person to benefit from an asset without actually owning it, Madam Speaker. And while that may sound technical, the real world impact is very practical. As an attorney, I know all too well the importance of proper wealth management in helping families move forward, Madam Speaker. This type of legal structure allows families to plan smarter, Madam Speaker. It allows parents to retain ownership of property while allowing children or spouses to benefit from it. It allows for income to be generated, assets to be preserved, and legacies to be protected. That is what this bill is doing. It is the kind of flexibility that modern families need, because the family structure is changing, Madam Speaker. And beyond families, it opens the door for investors to structure arrangements in more creative and efficient ways. They can earn income from assets without full ownership, and access opportunities previously unavailable within our legal framework. So we are expanding our capacity, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Decentralized Autonomous Organizations Bill, sounds complicated, the DAO bill, takes us even further into the future, Madam Speaker. It creates a legal framework for blockchain-based organizations. This is not theoretical, Madam Speaker. This is where global finance is heading. More and more, we are seeing entities that operate through smart contracts and digital governance, and the Bahamas must be equipped to operate within this space, Madam Speaker. We cannot be left behind, and we will not be left behind, because this government, the Davis administration, will ensure that we are not left behind, Madam Speaker. But putting the proper legal structure in place, by putting the proper legal structure in place, the Bahamas is signaling that we are ready to participate in this new digital economy. We are creating an environment where innovation can thrive while still ensuring proper oversight and accountability. Madam Speaker, this is how we attract new business and remain relevant in a rapidly changing global landscape. And that brings me to the second point, compliance. The Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Amendment Bill reinforces our commitment to international standards. Today, the Bahamas stands as a jurisdiction that is globally tax compliant and not on any adverse listing. And this did not happen by happenstance, Madam Speaker, or by chance. It happened after years of making the right decisions. We made the decision to meet international expectations and to operate transparently and responsibly. For us, compliance is not a burden, Madam Speaker. It is a necessity for our jurisdiction. If we are to remain a serious, credible player in the international financial arena, we must continue to align ourselves with global regulatory standards. These amendments ensure that we do just that, protecting our reputation while maintaining access to international markets. And finally, Madam Speaker, competitiveness. This entire suite of bills work together to strengthen the Bahamas' position as a modern, forward-thinking financial center. We are not only, Madam Speaker, we are expanding our product offering, we are enhancing our legal framework, and making our jurisdiction more attractive to global investors. That means more business, Madam Speaker. That means more opportunities for Bahamian professionals, Madam Speaker, Bahamian lawyers, Madam Speaker, Bahamian accountants, and Bahamian financial professionals. We are creating more opportunities. We are expanding more opportunities, Madam Speaker. We are choosing progress, Madam Speaker, and I hope the Bahamian people do so as well.
I choose progress.
And ultimately, Madam Speaker, that means more economic activity and job creation for our people. Madam Speaker, we are at a point where standing still is not an option. The truth is, many of these very reforms are the kind of steps that should have been taken years ago. Yet, the F&M administration left gaps that we are now responsibly addressing. Time and time again, Madam Speaker, we see a pattern where progress is met not with constructive engagement, Madam Speaker, but with automatic criticism. Because if these measures are not coming from them, they are quick to find fault. But Madam Speaker, leadership is not about ego or taking credit. It is about action. It is about action. And this administration is taking the necessary steps to move the Bahamas forward. The global financial services industry is constantly evolving, and jurisdictions that fail to adapt will be left behind. These bills demonstrate that the Bahamas is not standing still. We are modernizing our laws, we are embracing innovation, and we are ensuring that our country remains both compliant and competitive on the world stage. For our professionals, it means new areas of practice and expanded opportunities. And for our country, it means a stronger, more resilient financial services sector. Madam Speaker, Golden Isles support these bills, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when I speak about Monday morning quarterbacking, Madam Speaker, it's as if the history wasn't there. But I would say to the opposite side, to the side opposite, Madam Speaker, that includes Marco City, Michael Pintard, East Grand Bahama, Kwesi Thompson, St. Anne's, Adrian White, St. Barnabas, Shenandoah Cartwright, Long Island, Adrian Gibson. They were all around the table when they decided to increase the VAT rate. They were all around the table when they decided not, excuse my boy, no, sorry. When they decided not to increase the minimum wage. Madam Speaker, the history is there. Golden Isles support this suite of financial legislation. I thank you.
Central Grand Bahama was in there. You joking?
Why be tickled today? I was there. I was there.
As many. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Long Island.
Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am honored to rise in this place yet again on behalf of the great people of Long Island. Madam Speaker, I'm not going to be very long today. Before I get into my contribution with respect to the debate at hand, I want to, I note that we're in full campaign mode here. I see people are talking about what I have done. I too must account for my stewardship to the people of Long Island, and I intend to do so, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to also thank the member for Central and South Electoral, who informed me sometime, I think last week, that he is going into Long Island and he will be doing some inspections there of the roadworks. I think he's going in early next week, of the roadworks, the airport, and of course the new dock for Saul Pond, which is going to be completed, I understand, before this year's regatta in June. I'm advised that the materials are already ordered and that works are to commence soon. So I want to thank you, Central and South Electoral. I appreciate that. Madam Speaker, I rise today to address or to contribute to the debate on these three important pieces of legislation: the usufruct interest bill, the decentralized autonomous organizations bill, and the automatic exchange of financial account information amendment bill. Madam Speaker, you know, we all know that the financial services sector in the Bahamas remains one of our main pillars, one of the pillars of our national economy. It provides jobs, foreign exchange, professional opportunities, and global relevance for the Bahamas. And so any legislation that seeks to strengthen or modernize this sector must therefore be approached with seriousness, balance, and foresight. Madam Speaker, I want to firstly address the usufruct interest bill. This bill introduces into our legal landscape a sophisticated concept, which is the separation of ownership from the right to use and benefit from the property. And this is real potential. It can create new tools for estate planning. Parents who maybe want to pass on a piece of property to the children while still living in a house, for example. Investment structuring, development concessions, and intergenerational wealth planning. It may also allow landowners, particularly in the family islands, Madam Speaker, to unlock economic value from land without permanently surrendering ownership. Madam Speaker, having said that, some of the questions upon my read of the bill, some questions arise, and that is, or those are, how will layered user-fruct interest be reflected in our land registration and conveyancing systems in practical terms? What guidance will be issued to commercial banks and lenders regarding financing property subject to user-fruct rights? Has any modeling been done on how user-fruct arrangements may affect valuation, mortgage enhancement, and insolvency proceedings? And what safeguards exist to prevent excessive fragmentation of ownership rights or ownership interests that could complicate title certainty? Madam Speaker, many family islanders, Long Islanders, and other family islanders, we are usually land rich and cash poor. They possess generational land holdings, sometimes extensive land, yet lack structured mechanisms to unlock value without permanently surrendering ownership. So can the government advise whether this user-fruct framework would facilitate development concessions, agricultural partnerships, tourism investment structures, or renewable energy projects in the family islands? And so, what practical support will be provided to ensure that ordinary Bahamians, not only large investors, can utilize these new tools that are being brought to the fore? And I'm speaking with respect to the Decentralized Autonomous Organizations Bill. This bill signals, Madam Speaker, that the Bahamas intends to remain relevant in an evolving digital economy, and we see the impact of AI across the globe. You know, there are many who use chat GPTs and Grok and all these various platforms. We know how important it is. We know how important the digital economy has become, the digital environment is today, in a world where most things are now computerized and digital. And so we are attempting to position ourselves, I believe, Madam Speaker, as a jurisdiction that understands emerging technologies, smart contracts, token governance, decentralized finance. The ambition is commendable, but ambition must be matched by capacity. We must ask, do our regulators have sufficient technical expertise? Do our courts have the resources to adjudicate disputes involving algorithmic governance? Are we prepared to manage reputational risk in a global environment still cautious about crypto-related failures? Madam Speaker, additional questions that might arise. What specific technical capacity currently exists within our regulatory bodies to supervise decentralized autonomous organizations and their governance structures and smart contract risk? How will, the bill speaks to a responsible person. How will the responsible person mechanism operate in practice if token holders are globally dispersed and decision-making occurs arithmetically? What reputational risk assessment has been undertaken, Madam Speaker, particularly in light of recent international scrutiny of digital asset jurisdictions? And so we hope that there would be some specialized judicial or regulatory training which would deal with disputes involving blockchain governance and token-based voting. Madam Speaker, if the Bahamas is positioning itself at the forefront of digital organizational structures, then we must consider digital inclusion. So how will young entrepreneurs in Long Island and Auckland and Maguana and other islands participate in this emerging digital economy? Will broadband infrastructure keep pace? I'm constantly in here complaining about the poor broadband service and communication service in Long Island, from BTC to Alive. Will training opportunities be extended beyond Nassau? Will there be deliberate policy to ensure that innovation does not remain geographically centralized? With respect to the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Amendment Bill, Madam Speaker, in today's world, we know that compliance is not optional. Our ability to maintain correspondent banking relationships, avoid blacklisting, and sustain investor confidence depends on demonstrating that we meet international standards. And we know we live in a world where the big countries are keen to take advantage of small jurisdictions, particularly when it comes to blacklisting and putting their stamp on things. And so I firmly believe that rather than having these ad hoc regulatory environments, or where one country could blacklist, another one could have you, or it would be good. And I think it is a good move for the United Nations to have a say in that, so that big countries aren't persistently taking advantage of smaller jurisdictions. Madam Speaker, strengthening registration requirements, reporting obligations, and coordination among regulators is therefore understandable and in many respects necessary. But at the same time, we must remain mindful of the cumulative compliance burden placed on smaller financial institutions and professional service providers. Competitiveness in financial services, Madam Speaker, is a delicate balance between credibility and efficiency. So, Madam Speaker, I further wish to ask, what consultations have been held with smaller financial institutions, credit unions, and service providers regarding the additional compliance obligations introduced by this amendment to the Act? Has the government assessed whether increased reporting and registration requirements may impact the competitiveness of the Bahamas relative to other financial centers? What cybersecurity measures are in place to ensure the protection of sensitive financial data being collected under this enhanced regime? And how will this newly established or proposed to be established steering committee coordinate effectively to avoid duplication or regulatory overlap? Lastly, Madam Speaker, what engagement has taken place to ensure that compliance reforms do not unintentionally discourage economic activity in smaller communities? And I am particularly keen to know how these bills, when they become law, could positively impact family islands and our economies on these islands. Madam Speaker, in closing, the success of financial services legislation should not be measured solely by international perception or technical sophistication. It should also be measured by whether it expands opportunity geographically and socially across the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And that includes, Madam Speaker, the proud people of the family islands, and most especially the proud people of Long Island. Madam Speaker, with those few words, I rest. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Asmini? The chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Gardner.
Hey, Bill. Tell me, he cut us last week. We cut him this week.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's always a pleasure to stand in this honorable house on behalf of the good, resilient people of Gardner's constituency. Madam Speaker, I rise today in full support of these compendium of bills of financial services legislation. The Usufruct Interest Bill, the Decentralized Autonomous Organizations Bill, and the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Amendment Bill. Now, Madam Speaker, before I speak as Minister in my capacity, allow me to speak for a moment as a former banker. Because in banking, one of the first lessons you learn is everything is under watch. Every transaction, every structure, every new product will be scrutinized throughout all phases of implementation and execution. There are checks and balances, and there's always oversight. That is not a representation of weakness of the system. Instead, this is how the system gains its credibility. So when we bring legislation like this to this Honorable House, we are responding to a global environment that is constantly evaluating, measuring, and evolving. These bills, Madam Speaker, create immense opportunity for the Bahamas financial service sector. They expand our product offering, they modernize our legislative framework, and they position our country to compete on the global stage. Make no mistake, financial services today is not only banking as we once knew it. It must be about innovation and digital transformation. We must be agile enough to meet the demands of a rapidly changing global economy. And these bills do exactly that. Madam Speaker, this compendium of bills ensures that the Bahamas remains in line with global best practices. They ensure that we are compliant from a regulatory standpoint, and they ensure that we are not left behind. This administration has made it clear. We will legislate for compliance, we will legislate for innovation, and we will legislate for product and development. And we will legislate to attract new business. Because if we do not, others will. And if we procrastinate, we will get left behind. Madam Speaker, we have also learned in this space that compliance is not optional. We have endured blacklists. We have endured gray lists. We have faced reputational risk that threatens not just our financial service sector, but our broader economy. And while we have demonstrated our ability to meet international standards, we do not have the luxury to rest on our laurels. We can never become complacent. Even now, the Bahamas is undergoing peer review by the OECD. And in that process, the expectations are clear. Governance, transparency, accountability, especially as it relates to emerging technologies like blockchain and digital financial structures. That is why the Decentralized Autonomous Organization Bill is so important. Because while the world is moving towards decentralized systems, we are saying, yes, we will participate, but we will do so responsibly. We will create a framework that allows innovation to flourish, but within guardrails that ensures trust, oversight, and integrity. That is the balance between innovation and regulation, that we will get it right. Madam Speaker, as a small island nation, we are not playing on a level playing field. We are competing in a global financial system shaped by larger economies, countries with far greater resources, far greater influences, and far greater leverage in setting the rules. And yet, the Bahamas has built a financial service sector that is respected, resilient, and adaptive. We believe in fair play for all. And in the international arena, we continue to advocate for a predictable and equitable system. But let us be honest. Sometimes the scrutiny we face is not just about standards. It is also because we are good at what we do. The Bahamas has built an undeniable strong reputation as a financial service jurisdiction. That is why we must always ensure that our legislative framework is beyond reproach. That when we introduce new products like the use of frat structures and decentralized entities, we do so with clarity, with transparency, and with the full alignment to international expectations. Madam Speaker, these bills open doors to new types of investment structures, new pathways for businesses development, and they enhance the ease of doing business in the Bahamas. Investors are looking for jurisdictions that are clear, predictable, and efficient. They want to know that the rules are well defined and the process are streamlined. These bills send the message that the Bahamas is open for business. They say that we are forward-thinking, and they say that we are ready to compete. Madam Speaker, as Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, I have to underscore that the opportunities being created are also a good thing for our young people. The future of financial services is not just in traditional banking. It is in fintech, in digital assets, in blockchain governance, and in new financial structures that are still being defined. We have many young, bright, capable, and innovative Bahamians who are ready to step into that space. They just need the opportunity and the ecosystems that supports their growth. This is how we create that environment, because if we build it, they will come. And when that happens, Madam Speaker, the impact goes beyond the financial service sector. It drives economic development, creates jobs, build capacity, and strengthen national resilience. We are not just legislating for a future where Bahamians are leaders in the global industry. So yes, Madam Speaker, take it from a banker. Everything we do is under watch. The OECD is watching. Global regulators are watching. And the international financial community is always assessing jurisdiction like ours. The question is never whether we are being evaluated, but whether we are prepared. Today, with this suite of legislation, we answer that question with confidence. The Bahamas is prepared, compliant, and ready to compete. Madam Speaker, fellow colleagues, I stand in full support of these bills. God knows rest.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Asmini. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Freetown.
Good evening, Madam Speaker. Thank you for acknowledging me. As always, Madam Speaker, I rise because I'm clothed in my right mind through the grace of God. Why are you laughing?
I agree with you. You said it so well.
And Madam Speaker, because of the fate reposed in me by the good people of the constituency of Freetown, one of the most diverse, if not the most diverse, constituencies in the Commonwealth. Madam Speaker, I should be mercifully short today. I'd like to first, Madam Speaker, before I begin, wish a happy birthday to a young lady I met and saw 2 weeks ago, Frances Letitia Roll Smith, who turns 90 today. I promised to come back and visit her on her birthday, and so I'm pleased to say that we appear to be wrapping early today, and I will be able to go and sit and speak with her today. On another note, Madam Speaker, before I address very shortly the bills, the third party of Royal Bahamas Defense Force personnel deployed to Haiti returned on Friday, Madam Speaker, and they are, for the record of this House, Commander Alexis Brown, who led the contingent to the gang suppression force, Lieutenant Commander Roberto Adderley, Senior Lieutenant John Delancey, Leading Seaman Lyndon Roll, Marine Seaman Kenel Theophile, and Madam Speaker, the sixth member of the contingent returned 2 weeks earlier, and he is Force Chief Petty Officer Stephen Farquharson, who was appointed the Regimental Sergeant Major of the Gang Suppression Force. And Madam Speaker, he is quite a story. And he is a story, Madam Speaker, because when he was ordered to deploy to Haiti, his mother, Olive Colley, was terminally ill with cancer. And he deployed with the rest of the men ahead of Thanksgiving, ahead of Christmas, in some ways knowing, Madam Speaker, that that would be likely the last Thanksgiving and Christmas that his mother might see. And Madam Speaker, it was fortunate that we were able to return him from Haiti early so that he was able to spend time with his mother before she passed, Madam Speaker, on Thursday. And she passed, Madam Speaker, having had an opportunity to spend some time with her son, and she passed on March 11th, Madam Speaker. And the fact that Force Chief Petty Officer Farquharson deployed without argument, without question, he could have very easily, Madam Speaker, put forward the state of his mother's health, the need to be with her, but he did not, Madam Speaker. Like a true soldier, he went where he was ordered. Madam Speaker, he displayed the very best and displays the very best of the service persons who guard our heritage. May her soul, Madam Speaker, and the soul of all of the faithful departed rest in peace. She will be funeralized from Camp Road Ministries on the 28th of March, 2026 at 9 a.m. Madam Speaker, just some very short words about the conduct of the member from Marco City. He spoke and he waved about pieces of paper, and they were tabled. And the pieces of paper have tables, and the pieces of paper themselves have no attribution as to who created these lists or who is carrying out this investigation. Madam Speaker, I can say that bearing in mind what he has said, I have sent these on to the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and they will investigate what he is saying as they are able to. Something as important as voting, something as important as national documents, passports, ought not to be frivolously and lightly questioned in the manner that this is. I would invite all Bahamians listening to have a very good look at your passport. Have a look at all of the security features of your passport. And it might occur to you that because of those very impressive security features, that is why anyone who tries to forge a passport is easily caught. And Madam Speaker, as I said when he was on his feet, it appeared as if he was putting down a marker as somebody preparing for an event. And he refers to a statement by the member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador that a forged voter's card can't really assist you. and for the edification of the Bahamian people, Madam Speaker, and because I'm the minister with oversight of the Parliamentary Registration Department, any Bahamian who has voted knows that when you appear, you can present your card. If you do not have your card, you can present any ID. And it is not your card that lets you vote, Madam Speaker, because you don't need it to vote. You can vote with your driver's license and or your passport. What permits you to vote, Madam Speaker, is your name being on the register. And more than that, Madam Speaker, because we're getting to that season, you will have, every party will have agents in the polling place. And when the parliamentary commissioner says that everyone plays a part in securing our voting system, what he is meaning quite simply is this. As I pointed out, when Pine Ridge saw that when she was doing her canvassing, there were people registered in places that were now abandoned, which may tell you they have moved out, she notified the parliamentary commissioner and he acted. If anyone brings anything to the attention of the parliamentary registration department, they will investigate it. In the voting process itself, the agents of the contestants play as integral a part in maintaining security, as does the officials. As the former Prime Minister Ingram said, it's foolish to think that you could steal an election in the Bahamas. And when we see people setting up to do it, like my late friend Rodney Monka used to say, when you see intelligent people acting silly, you should really wonder why. And Madam Speaker, the matter will be addressed. We take these matters very seriously, and we do not intend to let idle chat affect the standing of our passport, something that is essential to us as Bahamians for free movement through this world, or to question the sanctity of our voting process. And Madam Speaker, I simply say that because it was raised in the debate. What I will simply say about this suite of legislation, Madam Speaker, is that it again shows prompt action, effective action of this administration. And when, Madam Speaker, persons come to choose in maybe weeks, as the chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party, the member for Fox Hill, has said, or whenever they come to choose, they will have a choice. And the choice, Madam Speaker, will be between words or action. The choice, Madam Speaker, will be between sober, somber leadership or, what's a nice way to put it? I would say, Madam Speaker, less than constrained, organized, and purposeful action. Desire is a very good thing. Plans are very good, Madam Speaker, but the best laid plans of mice and men do not accomplish anything by themselves. The choice, Madam Speaker, will be plain. And as I said the last time I spoke, I'm simply asking the people of Freetown to choose progress, the people of the Bahamas to choose progress, because you know what? It's the opposite of progress, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, we're headed in the right direction. Marco City is, I think that's page 16 of Politrix. Questions, questions, questions. But action is necessary, Madam Speaker, and it's action that now has, as of the 1st of April, no VAT on unprepared food. And my light bill was $188 this month, Madam Speaker. I got it today. I was very happy. And Madam Speaker, it is It is lower. It is lower contrary to what Marco City says, because the first 700 kW, guess how much it cost me, Madam Speaker? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And they say we promise free electricity. Well, I got 700 kW of electricity free. They used to laugh about free electricity, right? Look at your light bill this month. You got 700 kW of electricity for nothing at all. Simple as that. We're just saying choose progress. You see where you're going. In a lot of ways, if you watch the House of Assembly, you see where Marco City would take you to, Madam Speaker. Just have to watch. So, Madam Speaker, Freetown supports these bills.
Thank you, Honourable Member. As many?
Speaker,
The chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Caroline Rumkey and San Salvador.
I rise to wrap up. That's okay. Yeah. Madam Speaker, we are there, and so it is only fitting that, having heard the campaign political narrative of Marco City this morning, that I correct the records. You know, one of the commentators, economist, Friedman, his first name escapes me now. Friedman, he has been lamenting for the last, I suspect, 6-7 years, how truth has become an endangered species. And in the past, you know, it was black and white. Today, it is gray. And it is wrapped up in our deliberate and intentional aim to promote a selfish agenda. Now, I do not fault anyone for promoting the agenda. I don't fault anyone for pursuing their ambition. In fact, I do not discourage pursuit of ambitions. I encourage it. But very often, the process adopted, the route chosen to achieve that objective determines whether you achieve that ambition. Now, Marco City has his ambition. At our last sitting, he made much hay of whether I believe a creative, I think he calls himself, a creative could be a prime minister of this country. That's not my choice. It is the people's choice to determine whether they'll allow a creative to become prime minister of this country. Now, one thing he knows, I will not be voting for him to be one.
Me either.
You know? All right, and he claimed that I was making a mockery out of it. Well, far from it. I mean, anyone who knows me and know my own frustration of not being an accomplished musician I could do my maracas, and I could sing a little bit, and I could beat the drum a little bit, but I wanted to be able to play the guitar. And someone here said he's going to teach me, but I'm still waiting for that lesson. So I'm frustrated, and I enjoy the arts. I go to the shows, I go to theaters, and I go to the ballets, I go to operas. I do those things too. Not that it's embedded in me, it's just that I see how that could help me find peace and solace for sometimes my troubled souls. And he caused me to tell him, I wasn't questioning him whether that you can become the prime minister. I wasn't. I was just, he was talking about my profession, and in a way that was negative, that because I was a lawyer and because I represented persons who were charged before the criminal courts, that somehow I may have been a criminal, or somehow the conduct of which my clients may have been charged was conduct that I may have been participating in, which is far from the truth. And I stand here to say that I am proud of my record in the profession that I chose to be in.
Yes, sir.
And I dare say that my record in that profession is far and wide. It's not contained within the jurisdictions of the Bahamas. From Barbados, the South Trinidad, to the courts of London. And that is because I immersed myself into becoming the best that I could be in the profession that I had chosen. And I commend that to all who choose a path or career, be it a singer, be it an actor, be it a writer, be it a poet. Immerse yourself to be the best in that as you can, as I did. Now, to tell the truth, a disappointment, I mean, a deep and intense disappointment drove me to pause and think about what it is I wanted to make of my life. And it was related to politics too, In 1982, I would have told this story somewhere before. In 1982, 81, I think it was, the PLP had lost its standing in Grand Bahama because it lost the High Rock seat and won the West End seat by plurality. And so they had lost their popularity in Grand Bahama. I happened to be in Grand Bahama for several years and had made a name for myself amongst some of the groupings in Grand Bahama. And I was asked to assist in the creation of a seat that the PLP is more likely to win than lose. There came Marco City. It was what they call, and most of Marco City contained what they then called the ghetto, where a lot of the vulnerables of our society lived. And in fact, I had a brother who was living in Grand Bahama at that time. A number of people I knew, clients, all lived in that area, and And he carved the seat and say, well, young brave, that's for you. Go ahead and start your campaign. I thought I had that nomination. And I went down there, set up my campaign, and we were rolling until I got a call one day. And the call was, young brave. I ain't see the letter, man. I say, letter? What letter, sir? The letter, man, the letter. I say, so what letter? He say, well, you know. I say, I don't understand what you're talking about, sir. Well, if you want to run, you have to write and ask. I say, but what that means, I thought I had a nomination already. You tell me, go set it up, and I've been campaigning. He said, yeah, man, don't worry, but I just send the letter in. And I did. Didn't get that nomination. I'll tell the story, full story some other time. I didn't get the nomination. Deep disappointment. And didn't know what I was going to do. I said, how this could happen to me. And of course, I had my two law partners who were, kingpins in the PLP at the time. They were Finland's blue-eyed boys, so whatever they told him, should have worked, right? So I couldn't understand why. But anyhow, that disappointment then inspired me. I needed an outlet to ease the pain of that disappointment. And that outlet came in my paying more attention to my profession. I put my head down and I said to myself, I can do all I can do to be the best little lawyer in this town, and that's what I went about doing. At the same time, go about giving back to the profession as much as I can. That's why I got involved in legal education, the Council of Legal Education, and did a lot to cause the Eugene Peace Law School to be in this country today. Yes, sir. Having sat with Dr. Lloyd Barnett and crafted the report that set up the system of legal education as we know it today in the Caribbean, through the three law schools that now exist, Norman Manley, Hugh Wooding, and Eugenie Pooch. And so that is just, I say those things to say I am proud. And I speak to that because I attended the church service for the Defense Force on Sunday. And the chaplain, the former chaplain, Chief Apostle Wells, gave a very stirring sermon on impact. And not to regurgitate everything, what stood out from that? He was talking about elevation, how we are to elevate ourselves and what we are called upon be as a person, as a people, ought to look at ourselves when we think about being elevated. And those of us who have the power to assist others in being elevated, we ought to look at that person and sometime, well, what have you done to deserve to be elevated? Just can't come and say, well, I won't be. Yes, that's the first step. But what have you done to be? Show me what you could bring to the table. Show me what have you done. And he specifically talked about, he tells the people, don't vote for these politicians who can't show you what they have done. What have they done with their lives? Because in politics, it's about lives. It's about touching lives, impacting lives, improving lives. That should show you what you've done. So I thought that was a very telling statement made. And so in the context, when I speak of the member from Marco City being a creative, it's nothing to, all I say, well, how have you been in this? You know, like, I have the book, Politics. In fact, I'm going to quote something of that in a short while. But what have you done that's impact lives, man, touch lives? And with references, you know, people who could speak about it. You go down to Barbados, you go to Trinidad, you go to England, and you say brave, and they call me brave down here too, so yeah, they don't call me Philip, they know me as brave as well. They'll say, well, yeah, I know him. They'll say, well, how he's doing. And they may be able to tell some stories about themselves and I. So that's it. So I talk about this because I listen to him, and I want to remind him that when the Bahamian people relieved them of their duties, our country was on the brink of economic collapse. I wanted to remind him that our national debt was rising. I wanted to remind him that families were struggling with rising costs and reduced income. I wanted to remind him that unemployment was at an all-time high. I say that because he suggests, when he was talking about the role that I may have been playing, that I play in the international arena versus what I play here in the Bahamas, he should come to realize that they're interconnected. They are interconnected. And so particularly now, with all the challenges that's going on in the world, with the disruptions that's occurring around the world, the tensions, if I can't pick up the phone and call 10 Downing Street and speak to the UK Prime Minister directly and personally, if I can't pick up the phone and call Lula in Brazil, or Mia Motley in Barbados, or Ifan Ali in Guyana. And the list goes on. I'll go to Africa and talk about those leaders I could call personally, to talk about assistance that I could need, or call them to support a position that we want to take in the interest of our Bahamian people. How would I have been able to develop that? Or when the King of England wants to accelerate his efforts to have trillions of dollars unlocked from the private sector to assist small island developing states like ours and others. And he has the leading all of the multilateral chairpersons of money in one room. And he needs a voice to help him turn that lock, to unlock the key to those funds. And he calls on the Bahamas. Right. Oh, that's going to help not just all the small island developing states. It helps us. And I'm not talking, so, and for him to suggest that there's no plan, when you think about what I outlined, what I reminded you of what we met, where was the plan for that period? There's no plan. There's nothing but chaos. Chaos. You know? And they often say that they have a plan. I mean, the leader of opposition was saying they have a plan. We heard him today. They have a plan. But there were no particulars of that plan. There was no particulars of that plan. Right now, if I were to, I said I could quote him, didn't I say that? Here, let me see if I can find this quote. Yeah, it's on page 625 from his Politics. And I think this is his plan. And this is what I tell the Bahamian people to look out for. Get to know your audience, and then promise them the world. In other words, fool them. That's from the Bible, political Bible of the opposition leader. I just say to the audience, being the Bahamian people, he is about fooling you. No plan. His plan is to fool his audience, as he describes in his own book.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what he said. His words. So I just ask him to explain if that's the way he thinks that that's a plan. And you know, what's also interesting, a clue to me that he has no plan, and that's the whole aim is to fool his audience, is rested in something else I understand that he may have said. And that's something with expertise, and how expertise is not needed to run a country. Now, I hope what I heard wasn't correct, and I hope that he could come here and say he didn't say it. Right, but when you think about that, when I think about that, I think about the consequences of poor decisions that were made during the Dorian and pandemic period. I think about those times. And so I don't know whether that period and what he saw then has inspired him to embrace the thought that he doesn't need expertise to run this country. But alas, not into this world. We cannot act on impulse to run this country, nor could we act with theatrics to run this country. For us and for our part, we will take responsible and profound decisions. We will prepare ourselves carefully to ensure that any actions taken by us truly produces and truly protects the lives and livelihoods of Bahamians. And, you know, the member speaks about what we are doing in the light of what's happening in the world. today. Well, just let me be clear. We are addressing, and we have been addressing. And governance is not just looking at what's happening today. You have to do things and put in place policies today to protect lives and livelihoods for tomorrow. So you have to be looking at what's happening worldwide, particularly a country like ours that is so dependent on imports. In fact, we are called a consumptive society, a consumptive economy. So you have to understand what's going on worldwide to be at least 2 or 3 steps ahead. So with our energy reform, for example, right, with the grid upgrades, with the improved maintenance and processes in management, we have and recognize what's going on in the world. We are ready, for example, for the spike that has occurred in oil for fuel that's going on. 2-3 months ago, a barrel of oil was what? Anywhere between $60 and $65 a barrel. Today is over 100. So that spike is quite an impactful one, right? But Bahamian people just know that will not impact us at the BPL billing.
Tell us why.
Right? It's not going to impact us because we did things right. It's in order that we did things right and we prepared for moments such as this. The other point we make in respect to that, we know that it would have some impacts at the pumps and elsewhere in the food stores. So we are sitting down and still looking at how we could bring relief in those areas as we speak. Someone suggested, I think it may have come from the opposition as well. They very often, they like to cut and paste. We know that. Wait till you see their platform, they cutting and pasting. But yeah, they like cut and paste. So they cut and paste what they're seeing happening in Barbados and inviting us to do the same thing. Well, we sometimes cut, but we don't always paste. We look at what we cut, and then we decide what we want to paste out of it, or whether to discard it. So if they had, once they paste what Barbados were doing in respect to this oil matter, they should first of all look at what their system of oil purchases, oil distribution, and oil service was all about, how that operates. Right, so, and they'll find that we are starkly different. We are starkly different. Let's start with purchasing before we get to distribution. Right? They have there's a government centralized purchasing of fuel for Barbados. So the government buys the fuel. And then so by having that purchasing power, they have the ability to manipulate up and down because they are the purchasers. They buy the fuel, and then they distribute to the various entities to get to the customers and consumers. The other point they would probably recognize is that they sell by liters. We by gallon. And if you look at their tax on 1 liter, and you convert that to gallons, I think 1 liter is about 3 point something.
Yes, sir.
I think. And you look at that, there, what the Barbadian is paying for taxes on a gallon of fuel is about $1.65 to $1.75, and we're only paying, it says like $1.16 or thereabouts. So they have room to talk about capping. Now, I don't want to talk about their tax regime, which could allow them to move things around more agile, more nimbly than us, because they have that, you know, and it's much higher than ours. But they also have income tax.
Which we don't got.
So their tax base is much broader than ours. And so their ability to be agile, to bring relief to their people, is more nimble. But yet, even with that relief, when you compare what our people would be paying on fuel and taxes, it's still far less, even with their cap. And so I just say to them, whenever you're going to pay something, what's called cut and paste. When you cut something, sorry, when you cut it, before you paste it, understand what you're cutting and what informs what you've cut, so you can decide what you paste or not paste. And so, again, I said earlier about truth being an endangered species and how our own views and opinions. You know, I see that they put out a statement on me, I'm told, that says that I said, what did they say? You just told it to me.
Yeah.
That I said that a forged passport is a one-off or something. What did they say? I'll make sure I quote them right. But they use the word isolated incident.
Yeah, isolated, yeah.
They say, I say it was an isolated incident. And then they purport to, I think, support that by laying an article dated March 11th. Right. Now, what this says, Davis says, fake voter cards pose no systemic threat. Make that first point. That's what it says. You ain't talk about the passports, right? But then, and the article quotes me, you know. And if he wanted to be true, and he wanted to be, I don't want to use the word honest right now. I'll leave that for another time. But what I did say, we are troubled by the fact that our documents and other official instruments are being frauded in a way to mislead others, and I know that the police has taken note of this, and they are looking at how best to defend it. That's what I said. And I said that, you know, fraud cases involving Bahamian passports and voter cards do not pose a systemic threat, despite a stream of that. But that's commentary. See, first of all, that is commentary. That was not what I said. But even if he using that, it still doesn't say it is an isolated. My word was, it does not pose a systemic threat. And that's a meaning. Because we are aware that these incidents are happening. And when we talk about this, we're talking about it in the context of the elections. And I just want the member for Marco City to heed the advice of the former Prime Minister, Hubert Ingram. All this jumping and shouting about names on the register that shouldn't be on the register. Well, if he knows that, the law sets out a procedure for him to deal with it. Right? The guardrails are there. If I know that Calvin Farquharson registered in Cat Island and he ain't supposed to be there, I raise it, and there's a hearing. You could go to carry the names and raise it to the, and if you're not satisfied with the ruling of the returning, well, whoever hears it, I think it's the revising officer or the parliamentary commissioner who hears it. If you do not agree with it, you could even take it to the court as well. The guardrails are there. Why jump up and running up and down? If you know that if I know, I am seeing issues as well, but I'm not jumping up and saying, well, I send the information to the parliamentary commissioner with the evidence I have, and say, look, this person, and then they are to investigate it. So we are doing that on our hand. I'm not jumping up and down, but it seems to me that all of this is just hysteria and theatrics, to desperation, and it's trying to build a case for when this bell rings and when this result comes. He can say, see, I was telling you about these things. Well, at the end of the day, as a former leader of the everyone would say, it's very difficult. The court, there's processes in place. Look, I've been in every election court case has been had in this country from in about the 70s, 80s, I've been involved with. So maybe in the early 70s, mid 70s, but from the 80s for sure. After 82, I probably was involved in every one after 82. And the guardrails, you have the courts. First of all, you have your own processes.
Challenge vote.
You could challenge the vote. And once you just present your information, running out there, coming in here, making hysteria or fear, but Bahamian people know, They understand this. See, we're not a big country with millions of people where we don't know one another and we don't know what's going on. So you have to stop people understanding, know what he's doing. Anyhow, Madam Speaker, so those were the comments that I gleaned from what was said by the leader of the opposition. And whereas a lot of it did not pertain to the bills, I felt constrained to address those matters because it ain't long now and I can't leave nothing undone. And we will respond to him in kind as we move on. And so, Madam Speaker, I ask that we put the motion for the adoption of the passing, third reading and passing, second reading on passing of the automatic exchange of financial account information amendment bill. If I could have a second.
Thank you, honorable members. There's a move and seconded that the following bill be read a second time and committed. A bill for an act to amend the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Act. As many are in favor, will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Order that the bill be read for the second time and committed.
Account Information Act.
Thank you. Further second readings?
Madam Speaker, I move for the third reading and passing, second reading and passing of a bill, Decentralized Autonomous Organizations Bill 2026.
Thank you, honorable members. It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a second time and committed. A bill for an act to establish and regulate decentralized autonomous organizations and for connected purposes. As many are in favor, will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Order that the bill be read for a second time and committed.
A bill for an act to establish and regulate decentralized autonomous organizations and for connected purposes.
Further third readings? Second readings? Got me confused. I was going to third.
Madam Speaker, I move for the second reading and committal of a bill, Usufruct Interest Bill 2026.
Thank you, honorable members. It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read a second time and committed. A bill for an act to facilitate the creation, use, and management of usufructs in the Bahamas and for purposes connected therewith. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Order that the bill be read for the second time and committed.
A bill for an act to facilitate the creation, use, and management of usufructs in the Bahamas and for purposes connected therewith.
For the third readings? For the second readings? Thank you, Committee of the Whole.
Speaker, that the House to dissolve itself in the Committee of the Whole with the member for North Abaco in the chair.
Thank you, honorable members. It has been moved and seconded that the House to now resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole with the honorable member for North Abaco in the chair. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. The House will now resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole with the honorable member for North Abaco in the chair.
Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Chairman, the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Amendment Bill 2026. I move that the long title of the bill be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the long title of the bill be agreed. As many as in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried.
Move, Mr. Chairman, that Clause 1, the short title of the bill, be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that Clause 1 of the bill be agreed. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Clause 1 is agreed.
I now move, Mr. Chairman, that Clauses 2 to 13 of the bill be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that Clause 2 to 13 of the bill be agreed. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Motion is carried. Clauses 2 to 13 of the bill is agreed.
I now move that the bill in its entirety be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be agreed. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The bill in its entirety is agreed.
Next, Mr. Chairman, the Decentralized Autonomous Organization Bill 2026. I move that the long title of the bill be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the long title of the bill be agreed. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The long title of the bill is agreed.
I now move, Mr. Chairman, that Clause 1, the short title of the bill, be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that Clause 1 of the bill be agreed. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Clause 1 of the bill is agreed.
I now move, Mr. Chairman, that clauses 2 to 20 of the bill be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that clauses 2 through 20 be agreed, of the bill be agreed. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Clause 2 through 20 of the bill is agreed.
I now move that the bill in its entirety be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be agreed. As many as in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The bill in its entirety is agreed.
Next, Mr. Chairman, the Usufruct Interest Bill 2026. I move that the long title of the bill be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the long title of the bill be agreed. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. The long title of the bill is agreed.
I now move that Clause 1, the short title and commencement of the bill be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that Clause 1 of the bill be agreed. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Clause 1 of the bill is agreed.
I now move that clauses 2 to 34 of the bill be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that Clause 2 through 34 of the bill be agreed. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Clause 2 through 34 of the bill is agreed.
I now move that the first schedule of the bill be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the first title of the bill be agreed. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The first schedule of the bill is agreed.
I now move that the second schedule of the bill be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the second schedule of the bill be agreed. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The second schedule of the bill is agreed.
I now move, Mr. Chairman, that the bill in its entirety be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be agreed. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The bill in its entirety is agreed.
I now move that the House do resume with the Speaker and the Chair.
It has been moved and seconded that the Speaker of the House resume the chair. As many are in favor, will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. The Speaker will now take the chair. Madam Speaker, I beg leave to report that the Committee of the Whole has examined several bills, having made no amendments thereto.
Honorable members, the chairman and committee of the whole has ordered that the several bills have been examined, having made no amendments thereto. Third readings.
Reading and passing of the automatic exchange of financial account information amendment bill 2026.
Yes, thank you, honorable members. It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read for a third time and passed. A bill for an act, which one? Where is it? Let me see. Thank you. A bill for an act to amend the Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Act. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Ordered that the bill be read for the third time and passed.
Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Act.
Thank you. Further third readings?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I now move for the third reading and passing of the Decentralized Autonomous Organizations Bill 2026.
Thank you, honorable members. It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read for the third time and pass. A bill for an act to establish and regulate decentralized autonomous organizations and for connected purposes. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Ordered that the bill be read for the third time and passed.
And regulate decentralized autonomous organizations and for connected purposes.
Further third readings?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I now move that the third reading and passing of the Usufruct Interest Bill 2026.
Thank you, honorable members. It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read for the third time and passed. A bill for an act to facilitate the creation, use, and management of usufructs in the Bahamas and for purposes connected therewith. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Ordered that the bill be read for the third time and passed.
A bill for an act to facilitate the creation, use, and management of usufructs in the Bahamas and for purposes connected therewith.
Yeah. Ordered that this bill do now pass and the title thereof declared to be Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Amendment Act 2026. Ordered that the bill do now pass and the title thereof declared to be Decentralized Autonomous Organizations Act 2026. Ordered that this bill do now pass and the title thereof declared to be Usufruct Interest Act 2026. Ordered that the clerk do take the bills passed in this House today to the Honorable Senate for their concurrence. We will now revert back to the order of business. Consideration of standard amendments, resolutions, member statements. The chair recognizes the honorable member for St. Anne's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a brief update to constituents. 2 holes that have been dug by water and sewage on Easton Road in the area of Sir Franklin Wilson's property have been reported to the Ministerial portfolio. Those should be repaired in due time. Also, 1 identified hole by water and sewage on Johnson Road has been reported, and the mirror to help with safe exit from Sans Souci onto Easton Road has been replaced. So persons and motorists will have a safer exit now in that part of the constituency. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member. Appointment of select committees. Instruction to select committees. Discharge of select committees. Notices for future meetings. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Freetown.
I renew all notices in the name of the government.
Thank you, honorable member. St. Anne's.
I renew all notices in the name of the opposition, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member. Adjournment.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House on its rising do adjourn to Monday, the 23rd of March, 2026 at 10 a.m.
It's been moved and seconded that the House at its rising do adjourn to Monday, 23rd of March, 2026 at 10 a.m. As many are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. Final adjournment?
I move that the House do adjourn to the 23rd, Monday, the 23rd of March, 2026 at 10 a.m.
Thank you, honorable members. It has been moved and seconded that the House at its rising on Monday, 23rd of March, 2026 at 10 a.m. To adjourn.